Login accepted.
Good morning, everyone. This is our third day of the conference, and I was joking to my wife that if it would be the fourth one, I'm not sure if if my voice will survive. But hopefully, that's the end of today. So very good morning. I hope that you had a nice evening yesterday, and you got your coffee today. Because today, within those 50 minutes, 45 maybe, I would like to take you to the journey of time, and we'll travel with Ajay Manifesto, so back to the future. I will give you 3 models that you could use in your daily life. I will tell you a little bit of story, a simple one, and I will share my experience, what I gained during working in IT industry within the, I think, 16 years already. So the story, it was in Utah, and it was the lazy Saturday afternoon when this beautiful red car was going up the hill of Sky Resort mountain. And suddenly Jeff said to Ken, how about taking the last ride and then let's heading back to hotel. We have some work to be done here, right? So they took the last ride. They went down, observing the beautiful view of the mountains and this ski resort, and they arrived for a dinner. And after the dinner, together with our other 15 people, they gathered together in a very small conference room in the basement area to discuss some challenges that they have in the working in the IT industry, in the producing software. They were having a lot of meaningful discussions. They were working together very long in the evening, and suddenly Ken said, let's grab everything to one board because I would like to have everything in one place and see what we can do with that. And that's how Ajay Manifesto was born. Yes, it could be that way. That's, of course, just my imagination. But before talking about Ajay Manifesto, we need to remember about this guy, Hirotaka Takeuchi. And also we need to know a little bit this person, Ikuriyo Nonaka. Those two guys published their white paper in Harvard Business Review in 1986. So many years before this Utah gathering in 2001. Basically, they developed the white paper describing the software development process and describing the challenges that they were having and solutions that we could do to improve our software development. And obviously, the first one, the type A that you can see here, was the phases waterfall model, and then they were thinking how to improve this waterfall model, and they come up with this type C, which is sort of iterative, but you can see that this is not just iterative. The phases are overlapping each other, and that was the basis of the Scrum. So right now, I would like to take you to the journey through time with Ajay Manifesto, and our vehicle will take us from today, 2021, going back to 1986 and coming back to 2021 in, I think, 30 minutes. And our vehicle would be the first model that I would like to give you today, Diffusion of Innovation model, also called as a technology adaptation curve. That's the model. Some of you may are familiar with that. For some of you that they are not familiar, I will just very quickly explain that. That's when we introduce the technology change or any change, even if in our private lives, we have different people involved on the different stages. So our society is based on the Gauss model. I guess that you are familiar with the Gauss curve. So this is basically it, the Gauss curve. And the left-hand side and right-hand side, you have the corner cases, and in the middle you have the majority of the society. So basically, when you are implementing new technology, you need to find the technology enthusiasts, the innovators, who would like to just play with it, try with the new technology. Then if you have a small amount of people but very enthusiastic, then you need to find the visionaries, visionaries like Steve Jobs, like other visionaries, Elon Musk nowadays, that can take this initiative, see the bigger picture, see the vision, and develop the vision in order to show it to the world. And once the vision is being developed, we have the bigger, not the biggest, but the big group of people, the pragmatists, so early majority, who are sort of, like, yeah, maybe new technology, maybe we can play with that. MongoDB, not so sure. I was developing in Oracle all the time. So they are sort of skeptic at the beginning. So you need to use the power and energy that visionaries and tech enthusiasts has to convince them that maybe you can try using MongoDB, for example. And once you have those people on board, you are already there, your change is already being implemented, but you have the obstacle or the challenge, I would say, talking about conservatives, so the late majority of the group. So conservatives are the people that they always were doing stuff in the same way, the old way. They always developing in PL, SQL, in Oracle. So why to bother about the non-relations databases? So you need to use the mass of the first three groups to convince them that, yes, I know that you may want to stick with your Oracle code and PL/SQL code, but there is a change upcoming, and you need to basically adapt because majority of the group is already on the new tool. Like, for example, moving to Kubernetes. They are already using Kubernetes, so I guess at some point you need to have this Kubernetes in place. So that's the most difficult group to convince, obviously, but it is possible. It is possible. Sometimes people are not happy with the change, but they are sort of following that because the company is following a certain path. And the last but not least, and very important, skeptics. So people that they will not be convinced anyhow. They are just skeptics. They will be continuing the old way for a long time. So you need to take care of them, make sure that they feel comfortable in this old world, but to show them that at some point in time, this old world and old tool will be going to the end. So that's the basic model. You can use this model in your daily life. Even this is not about only a technology. This is about everything that is coming in our life. So talking about those 5 groups and going through the journey of time, the first group, it was the Innovators, starting in 1986, ending up with around 2000, so just before this era of Ajay Manifesto. They were godfathers. They had a vision. They had an idea. They would like to change something. So they published this white paper, New Development Game that I mentioned. They started small, so very small steps. They published the white paper, but they were not doing any huge change in the industry. They were starting small. And they were showing the outcomes to the audience that, yes, new ways of working, iterative ways of working works, and we will show you how. Then we have this early adopters group. We're going to the era of Ajay Manifesto when those 17 guys, including Ken and Jeff, gathered together, and they decided to develop, to write down all the manifesto that we call it Agile Manifesto right now. So that was the very basic experiments. Just even before 2000, they were experimenting, and in 2000 they were they collected all this knowledge. It was focused, this Ajay Manifesto, on individual challenges. So challenges of those 17 people. And obviously managers were not involved. I'm joking that in this group of 17 people, there were managers because they were actually the owners of the companies or the directors of technology. But the managers in the in the scale, they were not involved in the corporations at all. And then we are going to this period of time, 2010, 2015. So that was the period of people-centric. There was a Management 3.0 that you may have heard about, which was talking about the motivation, about how to be happy at work. There was a book called Drive, and it was also talking about our inner motivation, how to stay motivated, how to be engaged. And leaders were interested in the company. So, you know, like people from the teams, they were reading some books, they were going to some trainings, and leaders of the companies were saying, oh, something's going on there. I don't know what's going on, but let's see how it goes. And Spotify proved that it is okay to fail. So basically the Spotify model that on the conferences people were talking about, it was a nice model, nice graphics that they developed, nice ideas even with the chapters across the companies. But definitely Spotify said that at some point of time they failed, that had to adjust the way of thinking and working. And 2015, 2020, most of you, I guess, were involved in the IT industry in these years. It was about cross-team focus. So, okay, we have Scrum, we have Agile on the team level, but how to scale it? How to do the Agile transformations? How to prove that it's working on the scale? So it was cross-team focused, and management was involved. So people leaders were not only interested, but they were starting asking questions. They were looking for some scaled frameworks. And the skeptics. So starting March 2020, when pandemic happens, I think that's the time of skeptics. So basically, working remotely, C-level, they saw that something is going on, that people are moving to work from home, and how Agile can support this. There were a lot of discussions with the C-level people about that. So that's our nowadays time where we are. Just very briefly, some events from the past when we are talking about the history and traveling through time. In 1995, there was a conference, the first conference, not the first conference, but the conference of software development in Austin. And there was a very first talk about Agile. And in the same year in Uppsala, so in Europe, Ken Schweber provided the workshop, the very first workshop of the Scrum. And also in 2020, XP was born. XP developed by Kent Beck, or described in the book by Kent Beck. We're going farther away in time, in those years 2000, 2010, and at the beginning of this era, Agile Alliance started, and Agile and Scrum Alliance started. Those two organizations. And they organized the very first Agile conference in Utah in 2003. So Utah, that was the gathering of Ajay Manifesto, where those 17 guys pop up with Ajay Manifesto. And 2 years later, they organized a quite big conference of Agile. And in 2009, they developed different organizations, Scrum.org. Ken left Scrum Alliance and developed Scrum.org. When it comes to the next phase, when we are going through time, there were some companies that were involved. So, as I mentioned, Spotify model, the company called name Systematic, the first executive Scrum. So Michael Holm was the one introducing the executive level to Agile. and also the very first term of continuous delivery as we know it right now by Kent Beck. And the late majority, so we are coming back to nowadays, right now with our journey through time. As I said, scaling frameworks, the challenges that we are having in terms of scaling in the companies, agile transformations. Who've heard about agile transformation term? Yeah, I see some people raising a hand. That's the scary term that people doesn't know what does it mean to be agilely transformed, but heavily used in our industry. I will come back to this one later. And also the DevOps movement. So all the technical stuff, all the technical tools, and the question to be DevOps or to do DevOps or to have DevOps in the company. Just a few companies that you may recognize or you may have been working with them. So starting 2004 up until 2020, there were a lot of very early Agilists. There were various companies. This is just an example of those companies. And also the frameworks, the scaling frameworks. So we know, I guess, SAFe. There is a less model as well, less framework. Less known DAD, so DAT, we call it DAT, Disciplined Agile Delivery, and also PlayStation. So you see that Lego, for example, at PlayStation use SAFe. All right, and landing back nowadays in the septic world, so 2020 plus, right now we are August 2021. So how to survive in this working from home mode? What's the future of Agile? How we'll be working? Whether we'll be coming back to the office or not? There are a lot of questions about that, right? And I think the most important fact is that this quotation that when the flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment, but not the flower. So when we have some challenges in the COVID time, when we moved to working from home, we need to fix, and something is not working, we need to fix the environment, not the ourselves itself. Obviously, we need to support ourselves in these tough times, but fix the environment. So the question is, what will be in future? Nowadays, there is a very interesting term, psychological safety. This is becoming more and more popular. But for ourselves as engineers, it can be not touchable, it can be fuzzy. So I would like to propose you the reverse engineering. So what the resiliency is. I guess that you may have heard about the resiliency term. Anyone who knows what that means or what that means for you? Or resiliency engineering. Have you heard about that? Okay, so I can tell you resiliency engineering is basically the engineering part or the technical part, how to be more, how to come back from the failures faster, or how to be more focused on not failing, but predicting the risks in our systems. So there are resiliency departments sometimes in the companies, and they take care about not even the agility of the systems, but the systems to be up and running, and even if there is a production issue, how to come back to the normal very, very fast. So that's the resiliency in the technology world, and the resiliency in our world or psychology world is about being staying in a good shape, even if the environment is not perfect. And here we could see the diagram of architecture of our computers, CPUs. That's I guess you can see some logic gates over here, and also some processors. And I guess that's the CPU board architecture. So a lot of different transistors, different bits and pieces, and electronic pulses that are going through this board. And that's how actually our brain works and our nervous system, that we have a lot of connections in our brain, a lot of neurons, and also we have our nervous system in the whole body. They developed the theory, or not even, that they proved that we have neurons not only in our brain, but also in our stomach. That's the totally different story, but just for your interest, you can Google about that. And we have two parts of this electric system, because in our brain, in our nervous system, there's electric pulses that are going on very quickly. So there are two parts of this electronic system, I would say. The parasympathetic system and the sympathetic system. I will explain you later why it's important, but I encourage you to read about that. We have on this picture, we have a lot of organs on the left-hand side and right-hand side of this picture. And parasympathetic system, part of this our nervous system, is responsible for cooling us down and for making sure that our body is not active, I mean, is resting. So, for example, when we see the heart in the middle, parasympathetic nervous system, if it's activated, it's about slowing down the heartbeat, so to make sure that we slow down. On the other hand, sympathetic nervous system works in the opposite side, so it activates us to something. I will in a second tell why do we need that. So cooling down and activation of our body and our nervous system. And here we have the second model that I would like to give you today. It will also bring the value in your personal life. You can use it. From those guys that developed this model, Seeger and Bryson. Basically, they define that we are active, or we operate in the three areas, three zones. I guess you may have heard about it. This is about our responding to the environment that's around us. So when there was a stressful situation, we can either be in a red zone, so be active, and this mechanism is called fight or flight. So if we see the elephant in the no, elephant maybe not, or maybe yes, that depends. If we are scared about elephants, but if we see, for example, lion in the savannah, we can either fight with him or her, but that's not a big chance that we win. But we can also flight, so basically escape. So active state, fight or flight, responding to the risk that we see to the stressor. The second zone, called the green zone, is about being in comfort. So nothing is happening, we are in comfort, we are happy, we are on this savanna place, and all the lions and other animals are far away, so we can just have the rest. And the last, the blue zone, is about freezing. So if we see this lion, we can then just freeze and pretend that we are not moving, we are not alive. So maybe lion would like to eat us. So those are the three elements. And when we are triggered by this stressful situation to be active or to fight or flight, and it can be also in our nowadays life when we have stressful situation, stressful meeting, the deadline is coming and our manager is asking about deadline, about the work or about the estimation, how long would it take. We can be either activated, so we actively can fight in the way of discussing estimations, challenging estimations with the manager, or we can flight, so escape, saying that, oh, I need to check it with my team leader, and we are not in the conversation anymore. And the responsibility of this activation of our nervous system is this part of sympathetic nervous system. Then there is another situation when we are relaxed and CEO is coming to our open space and is asking the question, okay, what's about this bug on the production yesterday? Our company lost £2 million. And you can be freezed, right? So you can freeze, you don't know what to say, so maybe you pretend that you are not here. Obviously, he or she sees you, so at some point of time, you need to act at some point. But for a small amount of time, for a couple of seconds, your brain could try to freeze your body. And the last situation is that when you are relaxed, you are on the open space, coding your beautiful software, you have some triggers like your colleague says in the code review, oh, this is not a good idea, you need to fix it. So you see that your mood can go up, but you can control it, yeah, and you are not going to this red zone fighting with him, or sometimes you could go to this red zone, but overall you could control your nervous system, and that's the ideal situation that we would like to, based on this model, of course, trying to achieve. And there is a situation when people say, oh, then like the speakers sometimes say that you need to leave your comfort zone to learn, develop yourself, leave the comfort zone. And not sure about what you think about it. For me, it's I don't feel comfortable hearing that, because what does it mean to leave your comfort zone? Why should I leave my comfort zone to develop myself? When I think about this picture, I like being in this green zone. If I would leave my comfort green zone, where I would end? In the red zone, so I would be either fighting or flighting or escaping, or I'd be freezed? No way. So that doesn't convince me that leaving my comfort zone provides me the learning. So I did some research on that and reading and trying to understand more deeply. And I found the extension of this model developed in Poland by Agnieszka Stein and Gosia Stańczyk, which actually adds one more phase, one more state to this one, the yellow phase, and it explains everything. So when we remember about this green zone, this is about being in your comfort, right? But they split this green zone to two, and they said that this yellow zone is about just resting. So sleeping, eating, resting, chill outing, sitting in the jacuzzi. And I could agree that if I'm in this state of eating, sleeping, and sitting in the jacuzzi, probably I will not develop myself in the way I would like to. Obviously, maybe in jacuzzi I would find another topic for my talk. Yes, that's potential situation, but in general, I will not develop myself. And in this green zone, they said that the green zone is the zone of learning. So you feel comfortable in the zone, but you are not just not active laying down on the beach with your drink, but you are active and trying to play with something, having this creative time. And together with Bartek yesterday, we were talking about how to be creative, how to make sure we have this time for creation. And that's actually what we are talking here about, a green zone. So you are still in comfort, but you have a lot of ideas and you are active in the way of thinking about how to learn more. And that's the green zone that we are striving for. And that makes sense. Leave your comfort zone, meaning leave your zone when you are just resting and go to the zone when you feel comfortable but have the ability to learn and develop. And it doesn't mean going to the red zone, but it means to be in comfort. Obviously, there are a lot of different people on our planet Earth, and some people need some higher or more hard triggers, like maybe more tough discussions with the managers because they like it. But basically, this type of tough discussions are in their green zone, whereas in your green zone it wouldn't be. So that's our personal differences. And how we can connect it to our development world then, those zones. So I guess who are talking or listening about OKRs, KPIs, metrics, measurement of your software? Have you heard? Yeah, I see one person at least. I guess every one of us have heard about it because nowadays companies are, crazy about measuring, which is actually good. The measuring software, measuring our performance, defining the goals. That's really nice, nice frameworks that we use. However, I have actually the numbers from the Scrum report that 39% of the companies would like to have the ability to measure the cycle time, the waiting time. So basically to measure the process of developing software, to measure the performance. And also the productivity, increased productivity and predictability is one of the reasons implementing Agile. So basically everyone is focused on measuring. So why to do that? Or not why, but how to do that? Provide a safety environment. And that's where we are coming back to this psychological safety. Because if we are safe, and I guess you know it, that if you feel safe, your metrics show the truth about number of bugs fixes, cycle time. And if you don't feel safe, if you, for example, have the manager who always asks who is the last one in the team, who is the person who takes the too much time for bug fixing and so on, you have your ways to adjust metrics to show that they are shorter. For example, in cycle time, we can just define shorter user stories, and put very short cycle time in Jira because we have very short user stories. And cycle time will be magically short. But this is not about that. This is about be predictable. So we need to have the safe environment, psychological safety in the team to see in truly way our statistics. So when we have the safety environment, it unlocks productivity, it unlocks predictability, and at the end of the day, it unlocks creativity. Because to be creative, we need to fail sometimes, and we need to feel safe when failing, that no one will blame us about that. And productivity and predictability is the most key nowadays for the companies. So what about the future? How we can use Agile and DevOps ways of working in future, starting today, working remotely, working a little bit with pandemic situation still. I called it the new Agile Transformation because there was a, like this white paper of the first Agile approach was the new development game. So that's just my inner joke that that's the new Agile Transformation. But definitely important, the third model that I would like to give you today, the Gartner hype cycle. So what are the phases once we introduce a change in us? So for example, we have on the y-axis we have mood, and the x-axis it's time. And basically, when we are introducing, for example, a new tool, a new monitoring tool, or Nagios, or anything that you could imagine, there is a technology trigger, so there is a demand. Someone needs something, and we are responding to that with a new technology. And at the beginning, there's a peak of inflated expectations. So yes, that's a brand new technology. It will solve everything for us. Our life will be definitely better after implementing this tool. So it's inflated, and there is excitement around that. Yes, that's pretty cool technology. And then once we start using it, we are realizing that it's nice to use it. It's nice to learn new things. It's nice to develop our skills, but actually our challenges are still the same. So that's very high drop down, and we are seeing the truth that this is our illusion that we would solve everything with just one tool, and people modes are going down, and slightly over time, this mood is going up. People see that, yes, maybe those expectations that we had in front of this project was too big, but we use this tool, we implemented such a mechanism, so maybe there is a benefit. Definitely there is a benefit because that tool is different. And this mood is going up, and like smoothly going up, and there is a plateau of productivity when people are happy with the tool, seeing the pros and cons of this tool, and just seeing the reality. So that's the third model that you could use, and I bet that, some of you already went through this cycle. Is anyone that feels that this cycle corresponds with your feeling? Yeah, I see. So 1, 2 people, yes. For me, it's very corresponding. And right now, I would like to show you how to connect those two models. So those phases, the colorful phases that I mentioned, with the model that we actually are in terms of implementing the change. So again, we have those 4 colors, and when there is a peak on the inflated expectations, basically some people can feel arousal that yes, perfect, that's a new tool, it solves everything. I like implementing new technologies. I will be cool using Nagios, for example. My friends will be very engaged on that, on developing this tool with me or implementing. But sometimes it could be also the anxiety. So we could be the arousal is about being active in the positive way or in the too positive way, I would say, and the anxiety is about escaping. So we are active, we are escaping, or we are rejecting this tool, saying, no, Nagios, no way, forget about it, that's totally crap, I don't like to use it, yeah? Obviously, people are resistant for the change because of this anxiety. We are just fearing, we feel fear, so we resist the change, we are challenging the status, not status quo, but challenging the implementing new tools. On the other hand, when we are going up, going down and seeing the reality, or being in going through the disillusionment, we can either be apathic, so oh yeah, it's not for me, let's forget about it, I don't like it, or being worried, yeah. So not being active, being freezed, but being worried that, oh my gosh, what will happen next? My company is moving out of Oracle and I don't know anything else. What will happen with my position, yes? So we need to be aware that those emotions are popping up in us. But also there is this yellow zone, relaxation or boredom. Someone can say, oh, Nagios, oh, it's so boring. You know, I implemented Nagios, I used Nagios 10 times, and that's nothing new for me. I will not do anything because it's so simple. And obviously that's a trap as well. And once time is going and the change is being implemented, we can go to this plateau of productivity, and we can feel that we learn and that we feel flow. Because maybe being real about expectations and our work, we can be engaged in the work, and we could feel flow and fulfillment in terms of using some technologies in our work. And saying about practical challenges for Agile transformation, because I mentioned about Agile, so coming back to this Agile piece, there's a report that says about the challenges implementing Agile across the companies. There are obvious challenges that I guess you were observing, like lack of understanding of the requirements. People don't know, the business doesn't know what they would like to implement, or business knows what they would like to implement, but the transmission of the knowledge is not so simple, so the development team is not aware what the system should look like. Or extensive enthusiasm, yes, the system will solve everything. Or resistance to change that I mentioned before. Hierarchy in the companies, the structure, complex multi-team relations, so we have dependencies, we have bottlenecks in one team, for example, because every development team is pulling the request to the deployment team, for example, so the dependencies and complex situation. Other departments unwilling to change, so they resist the change, and you would like to implement something, but the databases guys, DB, Oracle DB guys says, no, MongoDB, no way. And lack of empowerment, lack of investment from CEO, that CEO would like to change the company, but new tool, going to AWS, no, we don't have the money, right? So that's the challenge. And rewarding model, not team-centric, so basically all the rewarding model centric on the one person, not the team. So that's the challenges. And what I did for me, and this is every one of us can have the different colors over here, but what I did for me, I experienced those challenges working during those 16 years, and I basically colored them. Which of the situation triggers me in the way of red zone, fighting or flighting, or which frees me up. And for example, lack of requirements. When I don't know what to do, that frees me up. So basically I can ask, but if I'm keeping asking 10 times and I still don't know what to do, I don't have the energy to keep asking more. Or hierarchy. I could challenge that and say, oh, why CEO is telling us that we need to use this small piece of service? This is our decision, right? And on and on and on. Good exercise for you is to list all your challenges that you face during working in your team, and just realize what you feel and in which state you are. And also we have success factors of the Agile Transformation, so the more positive one, manage expectation, invest in learning, commitment to change, people are motivated, committed to change, starting with pilot to gain acceptance, so starting small, and so on and so on. Transparency, mindset, and team alignment. And also I did the same exercise, so yellow versus green, when I feel comfortable, when I'm maybe a little bit bored about, and where I actually feel comfortable and learn at the same time. So today I gave you three models. The first one is the model of technology adoption curve with those 5 group of people and the Gauss curve. The second one was the Gartner hype cycle. Actually, the second one was the Siegel and Branson with the phases and colorful phases, and the last one, but not least, the Gartner hype cycle, where we are in terms of implementing. And I would like to leave you guys with this quotation from Simon Sinek, that working hard for something we don't care, it's called stress. And working hard for something that we love is called passion. So I wish you that your work, what you are doing, is your passion. And you are aware of that, and if not, you could use those models to improve that situation and to have the passion at your work, because that's something that we all striving for. Thank you very much. We have 6 minutes left, so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. If not right now, because of the barrier that we have the stage and the definition of this room, I would say, because it could bring barrier between us. Definitely you can chat with me on the corridor. I'm by end of the day today here, so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you very much.